Good evening, everybody. It's me, your comic of crackness. What up? So it's Sunday night, and it's the wrapping up of everything I read this week. Quite a few books, actually, I think. So why don't we just clean this shit up and jump into it. Orochi, book number 2 by Kazuo Umez. I have book 1. It was one of my favorite reads of the year so far, in my 500 comic goal tag. This is book 2, and then they talk about book 3 coming. I liked book 1 a lot more than this one. There was something about this one. Hello, comic board. I liked this one a lot more. I liked the first book a lot more than this one. This one, the stories didn't seem to flow as nicely for me. Same format as the first book. We have our kind of horror host, who is this Orochi. The first story, I think, was my favorite. Just reminding myself, we meet this family and their child, and Orochi's telling us that she wants to follow this boy through his life. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's quite a story, and it starts off pretty impactful a few pages in. Pretty intense stuff, and pardon me, I liked the twist at the end of this one. So I think this was the most solid one for me, that first story. The second one was fine as well. Trying to remind myself of what the heck it was. This guy leaving home and coming back to visit. Sorry, I'm really scrambled thoughts here for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. Longbox Diver, hello. Cthulhu Hand, Luke, nice to see you both. Thanks for joining us. But I think it was the third story that I found most challenging. The pace, it was this young kid, young liar. This liar is what his nickname is. Kind of like a boy who cried wolf type of story, but the writing, it just kind of seemed to drag it out. It dragged out the story so long that I was just really finding it a challenge. Not that, for the most part, not that manga is super intense, or at least in my limited experience with these kind of books, or with the genre, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, but they're not normally that time consuming to read. This one felt like a slog, and it just wasn't very interesting. I'm absolutely going to jump on book 3 when it comes out, because like I said, I loved the first book, and this one had a couple of stories that were just okay. But if you want to check this out, I would check out book number 1 first. Start from there. Here's one I had mixed feelings about. So I'm reading Sandman Mystery Theater, and this afternoon I read issues 9, 10, and 11, which are the first 3 parts of a 4-part story called The Brute. So this is Matt Wagner and R.G. Taylor on this one. And honestly, by the time I got to the end of issue number 11, you could see what was coming. Again, even though this is an old book, I hesitate sometimes to spoil on these kind of things, but honestly, the ending kind of disturbed me and upset me and pissed me off, and I just don't understand why there was an era of comics where it always seemed to kind of go this way. Fuck it. I mean, whatever. I'll spoil it. It's an old book. This kind of main character, this boxer, or one of our main characters, this fighter, who's constantly being asked to fight in this illegal bare knuckle boxing clubs, I guess, has ratted the people out to the cops, and of course they've come after him. So he had to leave his home because they were going to kill him and his daughter. His daughter is sick, and they kind of hole up with this bum, with this homeless dude, who kind of offers up this shack for them to stay. And you just get the sense that this guy's a fucking creeper from the beginning, or at least I did anyway. And of course, at the end of this one, it turns out he's sexually molested this guy's daughter while he was off looking for jobs. And I literally made a noise outside out of like, or out loud out of kind of frustration and disgust. And it's honestly like, I get it. You know, like you want some big impactful thing or whatever, but it's like, I don't know, man, that shit is on another level disturbing for me, that I just, honestly, it really kind of soured me from this book. I'm liking the series for the most part. I think it's fine. It's not blowing me away, but it's enjoyable. I will also say that I'm not a fan of this R.G. Taylor's art whatsoever. I'm glad that Guy Davis comes back because I want to get back into the Guy Davis stuff. But I just don't like his art, and especially the transition from Guy Davis to RG. I found myself questioning, starting to read these, which characters I was looking at, because he's changed especially the main character. He's changed him a little bit. There's something different about him that it was hard to recognize him at times. And there was also a couple of passages where I don't know if it's supposed to be comical. I don't know. I just found this, what is this, Golden Age Sandman? Let's see if I can find the page here. I find the costume, the way he presented it anyway, in one of these issues, laughable. It was just completely ridiculous looking. The fabric of the mask kind of sat strangely on his face. Here we go. This kind of thing here. And I thought it was ridiculous. It's not that the costume is really badass or anything at any given time, but at least there was a different kind of quality to it with the Guy Davis stuff. But this one, I thought it looked kind of silly, to be honest. It kind of took me out of the story, because there's a couple of pages here where he goes to visit and kind of drop some details of what he's found out in his investigations. I'm going to keep going with it. I'll definitely keep going. I'll be glad when I don't have issue number 12, but I'll be looking for that one just to wrap this up before kind of continuing on. It may be one that I'm going to focus to see if I can find more of the trades. I've got the first trade that I read the first chunk of stories in. I know this one went to like 60 something issues or whatever, so I don't know if I'm committed to picking up all the issues, but I do want to give it a little bit more of a chance. But it's not blowing me away so far. We'll go to these ones next. So from the Underground comics that I got the other day that I shot the video on, I started reading some of those. And I had to start with a couple of these kind of digest pamphlet style comics. So this is our Crumb's Comics and Stories. The date on there is 1964 of when he created it, but I think this came out in 69, if I'm not mistaken. It's a quick little, 1969. The comic that sparked a million Pornhub videos with this one here. So I think it's the first story of Fritz the Cat. You get to see some Crumb art that's not as kind of meticulously detailed, which I kind of like, actually. I like this looser, I really like this looser Crumb from kind of his transitioning from his kind of greeting card days. And the comics, like if you've seen the Crumb documentary, the comics that he drew with his brother when he was younger. But this one, Fritz goes back home to visit his family and is constantly commenting on how his sister has grown up. And, you know, they end up going skinny dipping. And by the time it's all said and done, they end up fucking, which thankfully isn't explicit, kind of fades off into the darkness as there's giggling and stuff. So it's a ridiculous story, but I will say, like, I do enjoy the art style here. I think it's really, really, it's just nice to see this side of Crumb's style, I think. So that was a pretty entertaining, quick read. One that kind of blew me away was Victor Moscoso's Color. This was an absolutely gorgeous little book. So from what I was reading on Comics Joint, apparently this was storyboards for what was going to be an animated, I don't know if it was going to be a short film or if it was going to be a feature. I'm not really sure. It didn't really say too much in the Comics Joint page there. Never ended up happening. Apparently in the early 70s, there was a couple of guys from Amsterdam who turned it into an 11-minute short, animated short. I had a look on YouTube for it and I couldn't find it. I think they called it, did they call it Cosmic? They might have called it Cosmic Comics or Cosmic Capers or something like that. If you have a look on Comics Joint for this book, it'll have the details on there. I'd love to see what they did with it. This is really, really fun. There's some really nice transitions here. Like, these pages are a blast. I think the use of color here is great, but it's these ones here, the transition from this chair kind of coming alive and grabbing him by the foot. And then the next panel is him up splatted against the wall, basically melting into this chair. Really, really fun, really nice style. The story is the story. It's stuff that moves panel to panel. It's more about the animation kind of feel, the animated feel to the characters moving through the pages. And I really like this smaller format as well too, where you can have just 2 big panels per page to soak it in a little bit more. But yeah, some really nice kind of classic gag type panels for sure. Cartoony sound effects and things. Everything looks rubberized. Nate Pancakes, how are you? Yeah, so I'm, like I said, when I was looking through the box of stuff, I'm really glad that I found a copy of this finally. It's one that's been on my radar for quite a while, but not easy to come by. So I'm really glad that this is now in the collection. One that I just finished reading before going live, Tough Shit Comics, and it was an anthology where the proceeds were going to the Heroin Emergency Life Project, a methadone and help program for street addicts. This is from 1972. Man, it's some harrowing stuff, man. Like, there's in a lot of this kind of undergrounds and things, there's a lot of, drug use and sex. And we get Jim Osborne here off the top, by the way, with our first story. And honestly, just as a quick aside, I don't know all of Jim Osborne's work, but what I do know, this feels to me, I'd have to look at it again. This feels to me like it's a bit of a different style than I'm used to from him. I feel like what I've seen from him before was rougher. Just watched Morbius on streaming. This is my palate cleanser now. Well, there you go. Let's cleanse that palate. So with some of the undergrounds, the drug use and the sex, it can be used in a couple of different ways. There's something about this one that's a little darker. The presentation, for the most part, there's a couple of stories that I can't quite put my finger on what they were trying to go for. So we get Jim Osborne. We get, sorry, let me just find the proper credits. Larry Wells, doing his sort of cherry Pop-Tart type of character. This was a pretty interesting one here, kind of into this sort of drug-induced fantasy world that she kind of finds herself in as she snaps out of it near the end. And then we get a fantastic, this was probably my favorite from this, a fantastic Trina Robbins one-pager. This girl writing a letter to her mom about how things are going for her. You wouldn't recognize me. I've lost so much weight, and I hang out. I've got some really good friends. Sometimes we even just hang out and listen to records as they're all in a bit of a haze. Thanks for the pearl necklace that you sent me, as she's kind of hawking it. And then hey, by the way, if you got $50 to send me, that would be great. But Trina's style here is a bit different than what I'm kind of used to from her, almost Chester Brown kind of looking. But this was a really effective one-page story here. I thought it was really nicely done. Bill Griffith with his Toad character. Next, with the addictive personality, Toad gets introduced to heroin. and just kind of the surroundings as he gets ripped off and someone tries to save his soul by talking to him about Jesus and the church. A quick Crumb. Yeah. Hello, Scott Connor. A quick Crumb 2-pager, which has a bit of a different kind of, I don't know, man. Especially after having these a little more serious ones, Crumb's kind of goofiness and cartoony style seems a little out of place in here. As does Brand, right? Why do I keep blanking on his name? I was blanking on his name during the live stream as well, too. Roger Brand. For some reason, I want to call him Richard Brand. This one was an odd one. It brings in this idea of vampires and people that are kind of out to suck your blood, and it's cops in there. Who do they have? Politicians, police officials, heroin traffickers, the military, art critics, psychologists, captain of industry, religious leaders. Those are kind of the vampires of our story. So it was okay, but it was a little out of place. And the one that was really out of place, as excited as I was to see, Justin Green does a story in here. While you're up, get me some smack. And it's this writer who is a junkie, steals a typewriter to write poems, but takes a side trip to shoot up. And again, like Justin Green doing some stuff that I haven't really seen from him before, like a page or a panel like that is very unusual for him. I feel like it is. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But yeah, this one kind of left me flat too. But overall, this was a pretty solid book. One that if you see and it's cheap enough, pick it up. I think it's worth it. And I love that Robert Williams cover. It is sort of a wrap around there. There's the back cover there. So it's a pretty decent book, but disturbing a little bit in a different way, putting your mindset into that kind of world that I don't have any experience in. And as far as I know, I haven't had anybody in my life that's had experience in that side of things. So maybe that's also a part of it for me, seeming alien to that degree. Which we talk about next. How about this one? Finally, Curse of the Damn Molemen. It was one of the first ones that I read after doing that live stream. And it was just as good. There's not really too much to say about it. It was just as entertaining as I thought it was going to be. And it actually took a bit of a turn that I didn't expect, with one of his neighbors being abusive towards his wife. That was something that I didn't know was coming in this story. But beautiful book. Really nice, thick cover stock on this, and gorgeous color. Even though I would love to see it in black and white as well. This was really, really great. I'm so happy that I finally have this in my hands. Really, really nice. Like even just that, the light shining out of that is just so well done, you know. What else can I show you here? Let's just soak in some of this art. All that black on the page. The guy's unfucking real. I need more Charles Burns in my life. I know that there's been hardcover books that have come out too, and I really just need to get those in the collection. Yeah, absolutely. Love to hear his thoughts on inking for black and white versus color. Yeah, for sure. Be interesting to hear what he has to say. I might do a dig to see if there's any interviews out there on YouTube with him. I'm sure there is. And then we get back to kind of where we started, as our big baby character is watching them dig their hole again. So good. Very, very happy to have that. The next in Shaolin Cowboy issue number 4, Cruel to Be Kin, of the newest arc. This was one that I thought I missed out on. It seems like this is sold out in the city. When I went to a couple of the shops, nobody had it on the rack. I was at Cover to Cover, and this was the last one that he had. I figured if I was going to get one. I wanted the Jim Rugg cover. That's who this one is. But I thought there was going to be no chance. And the last copy that he had was actually the Jim Rugg cover. So very, very happy. I love this cover. I love Jim's pen and ink drawings on his like loose leaf paper. I think it's a real solid style on his part. It gives it a really nice feel. But I think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. So very happy this made it into my hands. I won't talk too much about this one because it does take quite a twist at the end. And honestly, I feel like I've talked about this book so much that there's really not much else to say other than I'm still really digging it. I do like the twist at the end. I do wonder where it's going. I also like the idea. What happens in this one is we kind of live the history of Shaolin Cowboy's life. This perpetual war kind of thing, this feel that comes up because every time he's attacked by somebody throughout his history, it's they're getting revenge for him killing somebody. And every time you look back on who he killed, it's because they attacked him to get revenge for somebody that he killed. So it's this kind of really nice idea of this perpetual war that you can kind of find yourselves in. Very well done. And I mean, it's gorgeous stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It's just very well done. The guy is a fucking beast of an artist. And then we get to transition into some of his cityscape stuff too. So we get a little bit of a palette change for coloring and things. Yeah, so really great. Hello, Damien. How are you? So yeah, without any spoilers, I do like the twist at the end here. I am very interested to see where this is going to go, where he's going to take it. Very, very enjoyable. Let's see. It might be the last one that I didn't really enjoy this week. No, there's one more. So we'll talk quickly about this one. This is Weird Burlesque from Eros Comics. And I mean, I know it's going to be a crapshoot anyway when I pick up something from Eros to read. But this one just completely did not pay off. This was just kind of stupid and pointless. The art was okay. I mean, I like tits as much as the next guy. But it just wasn't enough. Sometimes when you have these things, it's kind of you might kind of stumble onto a halfway decent story, but this one was just kind of stupid. I didn't really get much from it. I'm glad I picked it up when I bought it, but yeah, it'll go into the filing cabinet and eventually probably leave town. Now, on the flip side, this one was a real surprise. There's a second issue. Oh no, I'm wrong. This isn't from Eros. This is just Fantagraphics. Saptoons. This was fucking amazing, actually. And what was so amazing about it, the first story here, Granger Davis, called The Complicated Game. Man, oh man, do I want more of this style. This reminds me of Branu Pratap, I think is how you pronounce the name. I really apologize if I've butchered that name. That Mother and Other Stories, if that's what it's called. There's some figure design work here in this that is really reminiscent of his stuff. It was amazing to read this. The story was halfway decent. This kind of beatnik hipster kind of guy talking about the loves of his life. But there's some really, really great paneling and some really amazing and unusual figure work here, with also a mix of some stuff that's a little more standard, so it doesn't get too far into the abstract. But I really like this first story a lot. The second one is by Steve Kongsel, The Fear of Insanity. And then the same guy, Granger Davis, does Saptoons at the end here, which is this story here on the inside back cover. And even here, like, you get a sense of that style again. It's hello. It's like a weird Plimpton Sala David B mashup. Hello, Colin. How are you? So there is a second issue of this one, but I need to look up, and I haven't done it yet. I need to look up this Granger Davis and see what else he's done. So here's that middle story, The Fear of Insanity, which was pretty an interesting concept. This idea that these crazy people that are walking around can kind of infect you with their insanity if you spend too much time listening to them. So I guess that could be very easily translated to today's day and age with whatever you decide to consume on YouTube and social media, how that can infect your brain. So it was a pretty neat little concept here, considering this was what 1992 is when this one was. But like I said, the winner for me was Granger Davis with this just fucking amazing stuff here. Yeah, exactly. That's America today. Exactly. So there you go. So worth picking up. And like I said, there is a second issue. I will be keeping my eyes open for that because I need to read that. What else do we got? Let's wait for that one for a minute. One that I'm not even going to take out, erotic fables and fairy tales. This is another Eros Comics, just kind of silly, a chance to have like the Little Mermaid fuck and that sort of thing, right? So nothing to write home about, not even that great of an art style at the end of the day either. So, but again, you gamble. This one was kind of a surprise in its kind of absurdist type of story, and maybe it's drawing from something that I'm just too ignorant about, but this is Teaser and the Blacksmith by Timothy H. Glass, and this is another just Fantagraphics book from 1989. The art style is really great. I really like it. It had this kind of, there were shades of Tintin type of characterizations here, which I'll show you in one sec. Where's that one picture of the lady? Yeah, right here. I mean, if that's not the Tintin character there, I don't know what is. But then it also had a feel of, there was these Nelvana, which was a Canadian animation company that did a bunch of movies, animated movies when I was growing up, Cosmic Christmas, Devil and Daniel Mouse, those types of things. It has, yeah, that's the tag. That's as Gore Vidal would say, there's a good YouTube channel name. There's a Nelvana kind of vibe to this as well too, with these kind of, it's this almost rubbery looking characters. And I just got to say, I kind of really dug that page here. This kid is kind of going through puberty, and his boner whistles tunes, and it's almost like that the Looney Tunes cartoon with the frog that sings. These people kind of swoop in and want to make some money off of him. Oh, did he really there, Scott? I had no idea. There you go. And there's this kind of couple. There's this horse race. There's some blackmail. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's a really dense story. I'm surprised this wasn't on Eros, to be honest, because there's a couple of raunchier scenes in here for sure. And once he loses his virginity, the story is that his boner will stop singing music or making music. But again, like I said, I just found myself really enjoying the art style, and the story at times was too much plot. And I think yeah, absolutely too much plot for Eros for sure. But honestly, too much plot even for a Fantagraphics book. It's a pretty thick book. I was having a tough time at certain points. It was just a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of characters, and a lot of kind of side stories that were all supposedly tied into one. That it was one of those books where it felt like, what is the point of this exactly? What am I supposed to be getting out of this story? But I was just really enjoying going 100%, Nate. Yeah, Rick Geary for sure. I can absolutely see that. I was just having fun going to page and absorbing all of this beautiful artwork in here. So yeah, a nice surprise, a really nice surprise on this one. I wouldn't say rush out and get it, but if you see it for 50 cents or $1, don't pass it up. Possibly finally, I think finally, if I haven't forgotten something, I feel like I read something else that's just not around. This is Black Stars Above. Yeah, yes, that is a good one. That's for sure. This Black Stars Above. So this is Vault Comics. I really, really enjoyed this quite a bit, even if it took a couple of meandering turns that were a little challenging story-wise to kind of keep up with. I mean, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, there's some things that are going to be an automatic thing that pulls me in. One is these winter type of scenes. Another is a story taking place in Canada. And as an even added bonus, there's even mention of Manitoba in here as well, too. This is a trapping line for the Hudson Bay Company. And this family that's going through some really rough times. And basically what they've done is the father has gotten a job, I think, with the Hudson Bay Company and is leaving their house behind and has married off their daughter. She's going to kind of live with this guy and live in this house. So they're kind of dooming her to a life that is just not going to be profitable for her. That's just not going to be anything for her, and kind of just abandoning her, I guess, is the main story. It has a William Hope Hodgson, is that the name? It has that kind of feel with this cosmic kind of horror elements, but it does this weird mix of actually having a kind of alien baby creature, so you get a physical kind of entity, but then there's all this quality of getting lost in the winter and getting blinded from the snow, seeing these literal black stars and this kind of ladder that goes up to this other world. So all of the story is told by her in what looks to be a book that she's kind of documenting her life. So you read through that, and it's got a really nice, this is, I should credit properly actually here. Nadler, let's get the actual credits. So bad for this. Lonnie Nadler is the writer. The artist is Jenna Cha, and I think they're a couple. Colorist is Brad Simpson, and letterer is Hassan Otsamani El Hau. And it's really, really enjoyable because he's a really decent writer. It feels like he's come from a prose world. I don't know much about either of these creators, because the other thing is her art is fucking incredible. And I've checked out her website, and she sells some pieces. She actually has a couple of the covers up for sale. They're pretty pricey, but if I had that kind of money, I think one was for like $350 or something. If I had it, it would be a no-brainer for me. I really enjoyed this, even if there was a couple of parts where the story sort of fell down. The character that we saw at the beginning of the story, she eventually stumbles onto him and finds his book. So all of a sudden, near the end, we get quite a few pages of just pure text, which again, right away scared the shit out of me. But once I started reading it and reading these passages, I felt like it flowed really nicely, and it gave you a little more of that kind of backstory. So I thought it worked, but it was quite a lot of pages. And then she kind of continues writing from where he left off. So when she continues writing, it's like the first page of this book, the same text. So it had some really great moments. I kind of wish, I don't know what I kind of wish, because at the end of the day, this is his story to write. So who the fuck am I to tell him how to write a story? It kind of fell apart for me a little bit once we sort of hit a point. I hesitate to show you anymore, actually. Once we sort of hit a point, that's the last page that I'll show you, actually. I won't go any further. There's a couple of more issues here that I just won't kind of dip into. I think it's well worth checking out. Vault is a company that I don't know too much about, but this is now 2 that I've read. The other one was The Rush that I kind of really liked. So this is another one that I would add to that list if you're curious to check out Vault. This is a good one to check out. My comic guy found this and ordered this in for me. He also got a couple of the single issues, which I don't have around, and I don't know where the hell I put them. Because this is one that I'll absolutely double dip on. I'm missing now just issue number 2, but I want to get the singles just for those covers and maybe to give it a read again in that format. So overall, this was great. 1887 is when this takes place, but very Canadian story here, and mixed with some kind of cosmic horror elements that are really, really well done, I think. Again, some creators that I'll be checking into if I remember, and digging in to see what else they've done. So I think, my friends, that is it. Yep, that is absolutely it. Thanks very much. A bit of a shorter one this week. It felt, even though it feels like I read a ton of stuff. Thank you for hanging out, everybody. And I probably won't see you next week. It depends. We're going out of town for a few days. I might be back by Sunday, but I don't know how much I'm going to get read this week. But we might see you next Sunday. And if not, we'll see you the week after. All right. Take it easy.